Welcome back. Now, after months of resistance, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State has handed over power or governance responsibilities now, if you like, to his deputy, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, in acting capacity. Speaker of the Ondo State House of Assembly, Olamide Oladiji, confirmed the receipt of the letter from Akeredolu proceeding on medical vacation and transmitting power to his deputy. Oladiji also said the transmission of the power was a sequel to the governor's decision to proceed on medical leave following doctors' advice on the need for medical follow-up after recuperating from his illness. The move is the outcome of the meeting held at the presidential villa, where President Bola Tinubu met with Aiyedatiwa and some stakeholders in the state on Tuesday over the political crisis. Now, since his return to Nigeria in September, after months overseas and continued stay in Ibadan, the Ondo State capital, Akeredolu has been under intense pressure from opposition parties and activists to resign or hand over power to his deputy in line with the provision of the 1999 Constitution. Also, the governor's loyalists in the State House of Assembly had been at loggerheads with Aiyedatiwa, attracting President Tinubu's intervention. The governor's extended absence has stirred political tensions, leading to divisions within the State House of Assembly and raising concerns about the impact on governance in that southwest state. Joining me now to discuss this further is Olufemi Lawson, who is the Executive Director, Center for Public Accountability. Also joining me on the program is Ayo Ologun, the Chairman, Ondo State, Ondo Redemption Front. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Let me start with you, Femi. I know that your group some time ago instituted a lawsuit. You were asking the court to for an order of mandamus now for the governor to disclose his health status, so to speak. So now that he's handed over power to his deputy, at least in an acting capacity now, would that case still be going on?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Mr. Deji. What necessitated the case instituted by four of us, myself, Ayo Ologun, Ishijola Kike, Niyarugu, on behalf of some other citizens of Ondo State, is not premised on the fact that we were seeking mandate for the deputy governor to become the acting governor. No.
Yeah, sure.
The basis of our going to court was to actually determine if Mr. Rotimi Akeredolu still has the capacity to continue as the governor of Ondo State, especially when you look at the provision of the 1999 Constitution as amended, which stipulates that whenever somebody becomes incapacitated, such person shall vacate office or is not qualified to hold office. In this regard, why we approached the court was because it is glaring at that point that Mr. Akeredolu, having gone away from the state for about 6 months, having purportedly returned to Nigeria on September 7, was nowhere to be found in Ondo State, where he has been elected to govern. So for us, the fact that the Assembly has received a letter from Mr. Governor, claiming to be going again on medical leave, despite the fact that just a few days ago, some members of his cabinet, including the Commissioner for Information,
said he was
still spoke to him on phone, that he was jogging around Ibadan, doing morning exercise, and that is now returning on medical leave again, confirms the fact that we deserve to know the true state of. Governor Akeredolu is not a private citizen. He is the governor of Ondo State, taken care of by the Commonwealth of the Ondo State people. So for us, despite the transmission of power to his deputy to act in his place, pending while he will return as proposed, we will continue to proceed with our suit in the court to compel the House of Assembly to properly institute a medical board that will actually determine if Governor Akeredolu is fit and capable to continue as the governor of Ondo State. It is not within the mandate of the Assembly or anyone else, not even the deputy governor who is not the acting governor or whoever, to determine if Governor Akeredolu has the capacity to continue as the governor of Ondo State or not. It is going to be a board of medical practitioners that can certify Governor Akeredolu fit enough to continue as the governor of Ondo State. And that is why our suit before the Ondo State High Court in Nakure will be pursued further, despite the latest developments.
And I'm just wondering, when you look at the provision of the Constitution, it's clearly spelled out how, the process of removal or whatever, even an inquiry into the health status of the governor can be done. But let me come to you, Ayo, because you're part of the group that actually went to court over that suit. You look at the provisions of the Constitution. I mean, it requires that the State Executive Council actually, sit down, take a decision, decide if the governor is incapacitated, and then begin the process of removal. I mean, it's clearly stated in the Constitution, other than the provision for impeachment now by the State Assembly. We saw this play out in the case of Aiyedatiwa. So I'm just wondering. Some people would argue to say you're going to court is like a mere academic exercise. I don't know how you would react to that, considering the fact that, look, the provision of the Constitution is very clear as to how such inquiry can actually begin.
Well, thank you very much. Except for misunderstanding of the provision of the Constitution, the process by which a governor, and in this case, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, can vacate office is in three ways. Number one is through deliberate resignation as governor of Ondo State. If he decides to resign as the governor, of course, there is room and provision for that. The second thing is the one you have mentioned, the situation whereby the executive council will decide by 2/3 majority to pass vote of confidence or otherwise on the governor to continue as governor of Ondo State. But that is not to say that if the Executive Council fails to do that, there is no other means. That other means, which the Constitution makes provision for, is what we are exploring. And the provision is clear. The first thing is to ask the House of Assembly, through the Speaker, to institute a medical board. In this case, let me refresh your memory. The group that we are part of, the Ondo Redemption Front, had written a letter to the House of Assembly way back in October, where we asked the Speaker of the House of Assembly to constitute a medical board that will look at the health of the governor. The Constitution is clear. The medical board has to be 5 persons, 5 professionals, among whom must be his personal physician. Of course, we wrote that letter to the House of Assembly, which the House of Assembly not only did not reply to, but they jettisoned it by not responding in terms of action to that. And it's because of the failure of the House of Assembly to respond to our letter that we approached the court. That if the House of Assembly by the Speaker, through the Speaker, would not willingly constitute the medical board as provided for by the law. That is why our team, the 4 of us on behalf of other citizens of Ondo State, approached the court to make the court to compel. That's where the order of mandamus comes in. A compellation by the court to the Speaker of the House of Assembly to constitute that medical panel, which means if by the time the case is heard on the 11th of January, the court, in its wisdom, decides and grants an approval to our request, the court will order the Speaker to constitute the medical board, acting on the order of mandamus. We compel the Speaker to constitute that medical board. And at that point, the Speaker will not have a choice. It will not be a question of not seeing our letter or the letter of any other group, or not yielding to the advice coming from people. It will be an order of the court that will compel the Speaker to constitute that medical board of 5 persons that must include the personal physician of the governor to examine and report back to citizens of Ondo State the exact state of the health of Mr. Governor, whether it's capable to continue as governor of Ondo State or otherwise. So this clarity is important so that you will know that our effort is not an academic exercise. If the Executive Council fail to do that, the other option available is the option that we are exploring. And that is the House of Assembly constituting the board without the influence or the decision of the Executive Council, as the case may be.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Now, do you have, as a group, do you have the local standard to institute this action?
Yes, that is the order of the court in the last sitting. Don't forget that I think 2 Wednesdays ago, I've forgotten the date now, the court sat, and the first thing that the court had was the issue of jurisdiction. Jurisdiction not in terms of location of the court, but jurisdiction to ascertain that as individuals, do we have the local standard to institute the case in the first place? And the court ruled, the judge that sat on the case ruled that we are in tune, that we are in order, that we have the rights as citizens of Ondo State, whose businesses, actions, and image is affected by the health of the governor, to pursue the case. And it is on that basis that the court ruled that since we are qualified to institute the case in the first place, the House of Assembly and the Executive Council of the state should be served to appear before the court to come and start the case properly by the January 11th. So that one is no longer an issue for discussion. The court has ruled in our favor that we have the local standard to institute the case, and we're going ahead.
Okay, Femi, let's even go beyond this case that your group has instituted in court now, and let's look at the state now, the way things are. You look at in terms of what this has cost the state, in terms of governance now, what it has cost the state. I mean, I just mentioned it, that I think you mentioned it, that the governor was away for about 6 months. Now he's going to be away again. And we saw the political crisis that actually culminated in this resolution that we have, so to speak. So you look at the cost to the state. How would you describe it?
The cost is very huge, especially if you have followed the trajectory of development in Ondo State. For a state which at some point has the best of medical facilities for mother and child in Nigeria, Ondo State, which has a university that was leading among state universities, for a state that was the pride of not only the people of Ondo State, but even the people of the Southwest. Today, there's a major setback due to the issues of the last 6 months, where governance eloped from Ondo State, where there was no clear-cut defined leadership, where non-state actors who were not elected by the people of Ondo State took over leadership and began to run governance illegally, exploiting the ill health of Governor Akeredolu. So there's been a lot of major setbacks, and for the people, it has been a very tumultuous moment. For the people, it has been torturous because you have a state where citizens during independence, during the democracy day, during other significant national days, had no governor or whoever to address them. You had a citizenry where, when subsidy was removed and government all over the country was talking about palliative, there was nobody to speak to them.
And there was a deputy governor in place. It's just that he couldn't act. There
was a deputy governor who was practically chased out of his office by non-state actors. We have a situation whereby people who were not, remember that Mr. Lucky Aiyedatiwa was elected on a joint ticket with Governor Rotimi Akeredolu as the governor and deputy. But we had people who were brought from nowhere to come and be domestic aid, like SSA, special duty, and all those, characters who were just mere, domestic aids of the governor, becoming the actors, becoming the dominant authorities in government, becoming people who could call the deputy governor a non-entity, who could say the deputy governor should not, attend one function of the state or the other, who could not even invite the deputy governor to lead state functions. That was practically what deputy governor was practically shot out of his office because of the influence of these non-state actors who were exploiting their influence, their relationship with Governor Akeredolu at that point. And that is why we insist that there was no leadership at that point between June and now, until very few hours ago when this acting governor took over. So these characters practically took charge of governance and were operating in the name of Governor Akeredolu, even though they were never elected by the people of Ondo State. And that is why, as it is now, our people are very anxious to see a return of governance, to see a return of leadership into the state, because for 6 months, for God's sake, their governor was nowhere to be found. The deputy that should be in his place was not allowed by non-state actors who were just mere appointees, domestic aids of the governor, to operate in his place. And that is the unfortunate aspect of the whole scenario.
Ayo, look, just as Femi has said, a lot has happened between June and now. Of course, and just as he said, at some point, the deputy governor just became a lame duck. In fact, the State House of Assembly, if you like, you could say, at some point, rode roughshod over him, became very powerful, more powerful than the deputy governor. Now that he's been made the acting governor, he's gone on to call for unity and what have you. But you look at the division that we have seen all this while, even in the State Executive Council. You look at that. You look at what has happened between the deputy governor and the State House of Assembly. At some point, they were bent on removing him. In fact, if not for the judge of the chief judge of that state, I think the deputy governor might have been gone by now. But you look at all that has happened. Despite his call now for unity and to forget the past, you think everyone is going to come together under one roof to work with the acting governor going forward?
Look, there's what we call the authority of the state. And that is what Lucky Aiyedatiwa has lacked over time. Of course, just like Femi said, he was elected on the joint ticket with Akeredolu as governor and deputy governor. And it is not in doubt that when the governor is not available, the next in line of authority should be the deputy governor, whether in acting capacity or not. But what we had in Ondo State was a deluded situation whereby individuals were taking advantage of their relationship with the ailing governor to override the authority of states, which was ordinarily supposed to be vested in an Aiyedatiwa. But with the confirmation of Aiyedatiwa as the acting governor, the authority of state has returned. Now, Lucky Aiyedatiwa can sign memos. Now, Lucky Aiyedatiwa can receive memos. Now, Lucky Aiyedatiwa can approve memos. He can sign documents. He can take responsibility on behalf of the state. That is what leadership is, and that's the authority of the state. I can tell you that what happened a few hours ago does not go well with everyone, especially those who are beneficiaries of the shenanigans that was going on. They are not expected to be happy. Many of them, I can assure you, will not also go to rest. Many of them will not toe the path of peace. Many of them will still do unwholesome things that will put them in the light for people to know who truly they are in terms of character. But one thing is certain, Ondo State has come under the rightful authority this moment going forward. No individual now can address the state to say the governor said, because that's been the problem. People will come on radio and come on TV, go to executive council meeting and say the governor said. But all of that is in the past. Now the authority of the state is in the hand of Lucky Aiyedatiwa. The idea of the governor said does not subsist. So whatever decision is taken now is taken by Lucky Aiyedatiwa as the acting governor of the state. Whatever happens in the state, he has no choice now than to be given, to take responsibility. If anything goes wrong in Ondo State now, we know who to call. We know who's able to bang, because now the good and the bad, the ugly and the beautiful all ends at his doorstep. And that is what the essence of the power of the state is all about. So what we are enjoying in this state now will be relative peace. There has been, the tension was so high that people were divided along the line of interest, political interest. People were divided along the line of ethnicity. Oh, he's an Ikale person, he's an Ijo person, he's an Ilaje person. Oh, it's because they hate the Ilajes. Oh, it's because the Owo wants to be dominant. All that has come to rest. Now, authority of state is the hand of one person. And I tell you, look at the speech that Aiyedatiwa delivered, the state address I delivered yesterday. That was beautiful. It was a call for unity. It was a call for everyone to heal. So the healing process is supposed to start now. Now we can put aside our differences, we can put aside our interests, we can put aside our line of defense across different paths to say that, look, let us move the state forward. But those that have suffered so much, now that we have authority of state vested in the rightful person, let us queue behind him and do the needful in advancing the course of development in Ondo. Now, let me quickly say this is not about Lucky Aiyedatiwa. Lucky Aiyedatiwa might and might not be governor 2025 going forward. But for this period of time that is left in the lifespan of this administration, the ticket that is a part of, he has the authority of state, pending the return of Mr. Governor, to do the needful in creating direction and leadership. And then we can take it from there. Politicians should not, because of their private interest or their peculiar interest, divide the state for what they don't even know tomorrow holds. But I can tell you what has happened in the last 6 months. Aiyedatiwa, the authority of state, is not political. Because some individuals feel, oh, if he's in the acting governor, he will be at edge. He will have an advantage over the other aspirants that want to be governor. Well, I think we can put all that aside. It's only when we have a viable state, a functional state, that we can be talking about leadership. So I want to believe that the takeover of governance and the mantle of leadership by Lucky Aiyedatiwa will not only unite other people, but will create development accelerated that we have not seen in the recent months.
Finally, Femi, let me get your final word on this. I mean, should we have gone through all of this, especially when the provision of the Constitution is very clear as to what should happen when a governor is not in the best of shape to run the affairs of state? The Constitution is very clear. He hands over power to his deputy. And, you know, Akeredolu had done this before, but why did this the second time, why did it just go awry?
Very unfortunate, because we have a system where individual interests have been oftentimes rated above the collective interest, particularly the dictate of our laws. And because over time, people who violate our law, people who abuse the rule of law, people who have abused the Constitution, there's never been penalty for it. People can wake up tomorrow and sign documents in the name of the governor and issue statements in the name of the governor, because there's no consequences for such actions. And that is why the people continue to undermine our Constitution, continue to undermine our laws. But moving forward, until we begin to penalize perpetrators of disobedience to rule of law, you know, forgery, like we have seen coming out of Ondo State in the recent time, we will not take our institutions, we will not be able to elevate our institutions above individual interests. What we have seen in Ondo State is a situation whereby some people created a demigod in the governor who swore to uphold a constitution, whose salary, whose feeding allowances, whose accommodation and everything are taken care of by the commonwealth of the people, but who is now elevated above the people. Until we begin to realize that you are servants, you are employees of the people, and you have no power over the people, we'll continue to witness scenarios like this unfortunate scenario that we've witnessed in Ondo State. But we do hope that we'll allow our laws to prevail in circumstances like this, above waiting for president, godfathers, the community leaders or whatever to tell us to do the right thing. Like what happened in Ondo State ordinarily is such that people by now should be on their way to the court, because people who were not elected, who have no legitimate mandate, held the state hostage, were running the state affairs illegally in a treasonable manner. And of course, nothing, really happened, because we felt, they can do whatever they like because they are very close to the governor. So moving forward, we must look for a future where this doesn't happen again.
Well, let's just hope this is the end of it and that peace returns to Ondo State. We want a better Ondo State for all of us. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Olufemi Lawson, the Executive Director, Center for Public Accountability, thank you very much for your time. And Aiyedatiwa, the Chairman, Ondo Redemption Front. Thanks for your coming on the show as well. Thank you very much. All right, that's how much we can take on the program this week. See you again next week. Bye-bye.